Newly discovered notes from the Barden study group in Prague as compiled by Dieter Rilgeberg, an analysis of positive and negative attributes in accordance with the 4 elements, support for introspection and knowledge about oneself. 1958 Universal Master Key to Franz Barden's Initiation into Hermetics. Table of contents. The element of fire 1. Will, might and power 2. Belief, trust, confidence, and certainty 3. Bravery 4. Self-control 5. Impetus, fiery vigor and enthusiasm 6. Enthusiasm for the magical sciences and arts 7. Courage 8. Effective defense 9. Return to health 10. Magical authority 11. Fervency or a red glowing fire 12. The power of decision-making 13. Uncompromisingness 14. The enterprising spirit 15. Personal strictness 16. The power of expansion 17. The sexual connection between man and woman 18. Truth 19. Independency 20. Endurance and perseverance 21. Concentrating on thoughts, feelings, sentience, and deeds 22. Objectivity 23. Consequence 24. Enthusiasm for self-sacrifice 25. Absolute trust in our intelligence toward others 26. Unyieldingness 27. Working actively 28. How equilibrium gives us a firm hold on our actions 29. Untouchability 30. Universality, multidimensionality 31. Strong individuality 32. How to attain success 33. Control of our subconscious 34. The meaning is lost through repetition 35. Self-reliance, certainty, security, and self-confidence 36. Watchfulness 37. Hope 38. Magnanimity 39. The removal of unexpressed passions and wishes 40. The ability to carry out anything. The element of air 1. The joy of living 2. Unobtrusiveness 3. Refinement and subtlety 4. Joy in the success of others 5. Generosity and charity 6. Observing a foreign opinion 7. Honest work without praise and self-praise 8. Concentrating our attention internally and externally 9. Sublimity 10. Purity 11. Optimism 12. Perceptive faculty, astuteness 13. Memory 14. Equanimity and reason, prudence 15. Cheerfulness and jocularity 16. Sincerity and openness 17. Diligence 18. Watchfulness 19. Industriousness and hard work 20. Sympathy and friendship 21. Confidence and trust 22. Friendliness and affability 23. Alertness, activity and liveliness 24. Adaptability 25. Differentiating between advantages and harmfulness 26. Gentleness and moderation 27. Not being conceited or arrogant 28. Concealed advice from people and beings 29. Free of worries 30. Life in the present, in the eternal now 31. The right remarks 32. Caution 33. The right judgment and the right conclusion 34. Skillfulness 35. Correct logic 36. Sound consideration and sound intellect 37. Non-interference 38. Good behavior toward others 39. Acuity, presence of mind and general orientation 40. Awareness of mistakes and their consequences 41. Analyzing problems 42. Do not oppose our destiny 43. The work of our elementals 44. Control of our thoughts 45. Acknowledgement of truth 46. Do not be accusatory 47. Never over or underestimate ourselves 48. Justified and correct excuses 49. Interest in creation 50. Thoughtful consent or approval 51. The freshness of spring 52. Clear cognition and cognizance 53. Spiritual caution 54. Eternal youth 55. Genuine progress 56. Freedom 57. Diversity. The element of water 1. Kindness and noble-mindedness 2. Sincerity and directness 3. Love and sympathy 4. Indifference vis-a-vis false pity, melancholy and curiosity 5. Humility and modesty 6. Absolute calmness 7. Loyalty and devotedness 8. Never be offended 9. Respect your fellow man 10. Penetrability 11. Honesty 12. Blissfulness 13. Tolerance and goodwill 14. Consciously calling forth feelings 15. Health, healing through magical, cosmic means 16. Fertility 17. Life, rhythm and mobility 18. Cold-bloodedness 19. Kindness and amiability 20. Patience 21. Mercy 22. Self-sacrifice 23. Yearning for the highest objective 24. Forgiveness and balance 25. Gratefulness 26. A joyful crossing over 27. Obedience 28. Appropriate attitude toward departed beings and material things 29. Criticism of others 30. Do not complain 31. Two realities and absolute truth 32. Rejecting yearning for success 33. In awe of God 34. Justified request for help 35. Impartiality 36. Our attitude towards negative attributes. The element of earth 1. Cling to nothing transitory 2. Assessment of oneself 3. Free of ambition 4. Equanimity 5. Level-headedness and composure 6. Conserving our energy 7. Pay attention to experiences 8. Justice, righteousness 9. Proper thinking and judgment according to truth 10. Education and introspection 11. Moderation 12. Respect the attributes of others 13. Keeping your promises 14. Peace 15. Asceticism 16. Accuracy and meticulousness 17. An unbending attitude and steadfastness 18. Developing a stable character 19. The consciousness 20. Agreeableness, tolerability and compatibility 21. Sobriety 22. Methodology 23. Lawfulness 24. Good deeds 25. Universal objectivity 26. Taciturnity and silence 27. Thriftiness 28. Striving only for good 29. Reality 30. Harmony 31. Strictness with oneself 32. Decent external behavior 33. Taking every situation seriously 34. Intelligence and the improvement of our character 35. Proper assessment of our negative qualities. Foreword by Martin Fawkes. In your hands you hold a work of incredible beauty, wisdom and power. Written by Franz Bardon, the most expert guide to the magical path that ever put pen to paper. The Universal Master Key is a text of poetry and inspiration in which Bardon teaches us the qualities we need to cultivate in our personality and what effects they have on the world around us, on our magical exercises, and on our interaction with the invisible world. Currently, many magical practitioners believe they can gain results and develop powers without any effort or personal development. Some of these practitioners even mistake building an impressive persona and gaining notoriety for genuine spiritual evolution. It is for this reason I believe a text that reaffirms the Hermetic path as one of the cultivation of virtue is of great value. In the work we are told that in a sense, each one of our virtues or vices acts as a talisman, which attracts certain forces and thus events into our life. This, in turn, affects how we interact with the spirits and with our fellow human beings. This is a fact that Franz Bardon hinted to in the section in Initiation to Hermetics, where he talks about karma and states that magical development is an aspect of the laws of karma. The reason for this is because our karmic forces represent the elemental forces within our being which are under the control of external influences, those areas of ourselves that we have not mastered and are controlled by external forces or by our uncontrolled passions. For this reason, what you are about to read is extremely important for anyone on the magical path. The more we learn to overcome our negative attributes and turn them into virtues, the more energy we have at our disposal to expend on our goals, which would otherwise be wasted in either battling internally or on seeking the fulfillment of our vices. This is, of course, the reason that in his book Franz Bardon, Questions and Answers and the Great Arcanum Bardon stated that love and humility could replace Hermetic exercises. The Hermetic path is one we undertake, not for ourselves, but for the rest of the world. This is something the Master draws our attention to repeatedly within this text. By making a continued effort at improving ourselves by the law of the microcosm and macrocosm, we change the world. On the grossest level, this is because we gain abilities to help those around us, relieve suffering and heal ailments. This text contains all the virtues which need to be cultivated by a magician in order to achieve adepthood in this lifetime. They are listed in the order that the elements should be in the spirit, that being fire dominant, then air, then water, then earth. Of course, on the highest level, in a perfected being, all four elements would be in complete balance. Therefore, we know it is our own personal responsibility to create the balance of the heavens inside ourselves, which we would like to see around us. Bardon states that the more balanced a human being is, the more the gate to the invisible world is opened up to him. This text, therefore, is not just for students on Step 2 of Initiation to Hermetics, but for those on all stages of Hermetic development, because the continual transformation of the personality for this alchemical work is the foundation for all Hermetic process. 2. Bardon describes a Hermetic Mag 1cu1 as a soldier fighting for the highest ideals. I think this is an extremely inspiring attitude to take to the world. One other recurring theme I would like to draw the reader's attention to is the ability of the Hermetic practitioner to turn any situation to his advantage. If someone is aggressive to us, this is a great opportunity to cultivate tolerance. We focus completely on ourselves, and do not concern ourselves with the fault of others, because we were born in charge of our own being, our own personality. Other people's personalities are beyond our control. Whatever happens, we learn from the experience hermetically. We see hardships in life as valuable chances to learn that we may not have later in our existence. In this work, like in all writings of the Hermetic Masters, we can often see the smallest statement expressing multiple layers of meaning and understanding. Many of Bardon's instructions offer analogies, which can be applied to different levels and different aspects of your life, your personality, and Hermetic practice. For example, we learn how to adapt ourselves to whomever we are talking to. We talk about what the person we are talking to wants to talk about, not the subjects we choose, and we learn from whatever direction the conversation takes us. The observant Hermetic student will see a parallel here with the section in Initiation to Hermetics, which describes taking on the relevant element before traveling to visit a gnome, salamander or other elemental spirit in order to talk to them. In short, I believe that this text outlines the most complete system of morality for the magical practitioner that has ever been put to paper, and therefore is invaluable for the Hermetic student with which to learn to control the elemental three forces within himself and in the universe. By cultivating these powers in our soul, we are shown that great rewards follow. We can use our spiritual powers to work miracles, and the invisible kingdoms open their doors to us so we can explore the other worlds. However, the greatest reward is also mentioned within the text. When we overcome our vices and weaknesses, the egotistical mist that veils our true vision of the world is lifted and we can discover who we truly are. 4. Foreword by Merkur Publishing, Incorporated. This new text by Franz Bardon not only contains the master keys to spiritual development, but also the universal master keys to every element and to every positive attribute with which you can control and overcome your negative attributes. And with the exercises in initiation into Hermetics, you should succeed and be on your way to becoming a magician. Franz Bardon speaks of maturity, stating that an immature person must reincarnate until he has attained the necessary maturity. This can be attained soon if a person is willing to change for the better. In other words, change his or her negative characteristics, namely, passions, into positive characteristics or virtues. Translated, the word passion means to suffer. Passions are weaknesses which consume all your vital energy, whereas virtues give you energy. Therefore, virtues will provide you with the necessary energy to overcome all your weaknesses. In order to accomplish this, you require the knowledge of how to overcome those weaknesses. Jesus said, "Eat my flesh and drink my blood," which is, of course, a metaphor. The flesh is his word, which means, metaphorically speaking, to eat his word, i.e., you must make his words your own. But simply having this knowledge will not change you, it will not transform your negative characteristics into positive ones. That requires a certain maturity, the willingness to change by acting on that knowledge and do what is being asked of you. Acting on this knowledge is the meaning of the metaphor "drink my blood." The most energy-consuming passion is pride. Pride belongs to the fire element, and the fire element is the driving 5. Force behind all things. As Bardon describes in Initiation into Hermetics, life would not be possible without the fire element, which sets everything into motion. Of course, air, water and earth are necessary as well. In Initiation into Hermetics, step-by-step instructions are given as to how to transform your negative characteristics into positive ones. Spiritual truths constitute the content of this text, and we can take these truths with us into the beyond, into eternity, whereas everything of an earthly nature is left behind. Our invisible world reflects itself in the subconscious. When we are in control of our subconscious, we are also partly in control of the astral and spiritual worlds, which is advantageous to us. Since every element has its particular individual condition, the reader or student of Hermetics must be aware of this condition and also its nuances, which present themselves by degrees and which determine the maturity of the reader or student. Our negative attributes enslave us to our passions. Therefore, in order to eliminate them effectively, we must understand the conditions in which they lie, i.e., in which element, otherwise, we will fail. There is, of course, one requisite: you must recognize and accept that you do indeed have these characteristics before you can rid yourself of them. When it comes to spiritual writings, progress can be measured by your understanding, which will change as you mature. That means that your level of understanding goes hand in hand with your spiritual development. When you are in control of your soul, i.e., your thoughts, positive and negative attributes, passions and bad habits, you have access to your spirit. Then you are completely 6. Healthy. If you are not in control of your soul, in other words, you cannot control your thoughts, you are subject to every disease, your own as well as those you inherited. In other words, your soul, your subconscious, is in control, not your true self, which is your spirit. This present work of Franz Bardon is a blueprint of the characteristics in the human soul. It gives the practitioner of Hermetics an additional tool to successfully carry out the exercises in Initiation into Hermetics, and also gives the serious reader a never-known insight into the human soul. To the student and practitioner of Hermetics, the content of this book clearly shows us what the human soul should be and could be. The goal here is to establish equilibrium of the elements, as an example, 21 attributes for the fire element, 20 attributes for the air element, 19 attributes for the water element, and 18 for the earth element. This work is just as extraordinary as Franz Barden's other works, a great gift to humankind, and as Barden says, we can surely say that absolute sincerity opens the path to eternity, to the greatest secrets of the universal laws and analogies, with which we constantly work. We also have easy access to establish contact with all the beings and the intelligences of the invisible world, which, if we so wish, can help us on the condition that it is an exceedingly noble and good matter. 7. The element of fire, the positive attributes. 1. Will, might and power. The will is an almighty attribute, whereas might and power are part of the will, which God, the Creator, gave us when He created us in His image. The will is the fundamental might and power through which our immortal spirit can create, control, dominate, preserve and destroy everything. All of creation represents the attribute of the will, which consists of both quality and power, and which when combined together forms quantity. The quality of the will is merely the intent to achieve or accomplish something, which, of course, is not possible without the necessary power. That is why, in cases like that, it remains just volition. The power of the will is the quantity through which we can create, achieve, and realize whatever we wish. With that we can control and grasp everything that we target and plan to do. We control all the elements mainly with the will, with which we can create everything, for example, elementals, elementaries and other beings of the elements. With the help of the will we can control and dominate all the beings that belong to the visible and invisible world, and furthermore all powers of the elements or forces in nature. Through the will we mainly control the attributes of the elements, including our own passions and bad habits as well as those of our fellowmen. We never interfere with our fellow human beings, of course. M8. Accordance with our level of development, in matters that are caused by their destiny. We are able to move mountains through the positive will of the spirit in unison with belief. We can operate with quite a few aspects of the will, such as the visual, sight, acoustic, hearing, sentient, feeling, olfactory, smell, and taste concentration. Furthermore, with the imagination, that is to say, through the power of the imagination, we can clearly envisage everything we create on all planes. We use the will for every magical exercise, work and task. Through our will we receive our independence, and that is also the reason why we should never be subordinate to other people when it is uncalled for. Of course, we must be subordinate to our superiors, in our profession or work, or as a soldier. In that case, it is necessary to show obedience, because destiny has placed us there. In critical moments the will serves us as a decision factor, to show us what has to be done in situations like that. In such cases we can depend on our will, which is connected with our intuition and inspiration. We see another aspect of the will in our egotism, the endeavor to preserve our own present life for the longest possible time, especially when it is well founded and properly established with the magical path we have taken. Our survival instinct forces us in a case of danger to a supreme effort of all our energies to save our own life, come what may and as far as destiny allows it. Our will also expresses itself in the fight for survival, in our profession, to achieve a better standard of living, but we must always take the interests of our fellowmen into consideration, that we do not harm them, and we always take a cue from how destiny has arranged our life for us. We know that destiny knows best what is harmful and what is beneficial for us. 9. That is why we employ our goodwill where it is appropriate, where we do not harm anyone, and also for our own welfare. We never use or misuse our will, and also never in cases where the universal laws are violated. We deliberately control our astral and physical bodies, which are our shells, instruments with which we play, in accordance with our wishes and according to the good will. We are their guiding force, and keep them alive during the entire time of our life on this material plane. Without our spirit, these two shells would decompose into their original substances of the elements from which they were created. We use the power of the will exclusively for noble purposes, that is, in cases like these, 1. For one's own conviction, 2. For noble deeds, namely to provide well-founded help for people in need, 3. For one's own defense, when attacked and in danger of our life, to control our negative attributes, passions, bad habits, negative thoughts, impressions, pictures, etc. We must cultivate our will in a magical manner, since it will truly become omnipotent for us, and on this particular level of development we will take it with us into the invisible world. We become conscious of the fact that we imitate the Akasha through the will and identify ourselves in this manner with the will. The will has its seat in the head, and it is effective practically in the electromagnetic fluid in all planes. 10. 2. Belief, trust, confidence, and certainty. Belief, trust and certainty are positive attributes and powers, through which we build ourselves a solid foundation, solid ground under our feet, in order to receive everything that we demand and wish for. Belief is part of our positive will, without which we cannot achieve or create anything, nor can we control or attain anything. Belief creates within us such a security, so much so that we do not doubt for one moment whatever we wish to create, do, overcome, recognize, comprehend and destroy for ourselves. Whatever we deal with, whatever activities we are engaged in, come into effect, in order to achieve absolute belief in stages and step by step through magical development. We should never allow ourselves to become discouraged by initial failures. Instead, we should practice to persevere and work with great trust and confidence as well as great certainty, so that the results of our work and endeavor occur automatically, as soon as we have overcome useful hurdles that were placed in our way. Hurdles or obstacles are absolutely necessary, because they strengthen us, and through that our belief, trust, confidence and certainty are strengthened at the same time. Whoever proceeds in this manner will, in the end, be rewarded with a belief that moves mountains. Without belief our life would be a life without salt, because without belief we do not achieve anything. Our belief must reveal itself within us in such a way that we gradually, in accordance with our development, believe absolutely what we learn and experience, without requiring any tangible proof to substantiate that. It goes, however, without saying that the 1am saying which means that life is lacking flanr. Ed 11. Results of our work and efforts combined with belief, confidence and security show themselves automatically, and we can find this out at any time in a tangible manner. With the help of belief, trust and certainty, a person achieves in his life sweeping successes that increase according to how his belief grows or increases. Even disappointments should not in any way influence us in the slightest in our belief. On the contrary, we must with even greater zeal work to overcome all hurdles that present an obstacle in order to reach the goal that we have set for ourselves. When our goal meets the purpose of our magical development, we will attain it with certainty. Of course, the higher the goal, the more difficult are the obstacles to overcome, and also the failures and tests that lead to its attainment. Therefore, our belief must also be more powerful and certain. Belief is one aspect of omnipotence. With its help we build our Temple of Solomon, but without belief here on this material plane we could not build the temple at all. Our belief is strengthened through these obstacles, no matter what kind they might be, and through our successes and convictions that we struggled to attain, became a reality within us. Belief grows in the most powerful manner in surroundings and under conditions which we create through our introspection. The more well-balanced a person is, the more gates to the invisible world will open to him, and the greater the possibilities he will have to truly experience reality, circumstances, things, matters, problems, which in turn will strengthen and enrich his belief even more so. When we observe the lives of normal human beings, we will find that they lack belief, confidence, trust and certainty the most, which are the most important and essential supporting pillars of all our activities. For this reason, when they do not have enough confidence and certainty for their 12 justified wishes and interests to come true, then, as a rule, they become disappointed about their failures. From this we conclude that all our successes depend on our belief with which we vitalize our wishes and interests, our work and every activity. In general, wherever between human beings, nations and states exists confidence and certainty, the mutual friendship or interrelationship grows, and with it their standard of living. It is, of course, a prerequisite that there is an all-around development on the physical, astral and spiritual planes. He who only thinks unilaterally, for example, only in the physical and neglects the spiritual and astral aspects or does not believe in them at all, will only develop a unilateral belief, which is incomplete and imperfect, and which results only in successes that correspond to the dynamics of this kind of belief. Only an absolute belief in perfection, developed through many years of magical exercises and introspection, through obstacles, successes and failures, and strengthened through conviction and vitalization, can everything be achieved, even moving mountains. Magicians fight for such belief with all their power and sacrifice everything for that belief, with whatever is contained in their powers and possibilities. Advice: belief as a quality, that means an attribute, remains unused in a person if he cannot energize it. Belief as a quality and a power, if it is developed, earns a person great gains. Belief in the element of fire is active as an almighty power. In the air element, belief convinces us that whatever we wish and what we staunchly and unswervingly believe, the positive power of manifested belief, which moves mountains, becomes a reality. The element of water vitalizes our wishes and the element of earth realizes them. 13. 3. Bravery, as an attribute, is fruitless as long as the power in it is not developed. Through positive bravery we struggle to attain victory. We need most of our bravery to conquer ourselves. That means that we battle for victory over our basic positive and negative attributes. It is an exhausting, long-lasting battle, but also a powerful one. We battle day and night, under any circumstances, to defeat our negative attributes of the elements of air, fire, water and earth too at every opportunity. This bitter times battle quite often lasts an entire lifetime or even several lifetimes, depending on how deep-rooted our negative attributes are, which we probably nourished umpteen times, even hundreds of times in our past lives. It is not as easy as it seems to be at first glance, but our bravery together with perseverance lead us to our goal, that is, to a well-deserved total victory. This valiant battle cannot be compared to any other one in this world, because it is the most difficult battle. That is why great bravery is absolutely necessary. In this field of endeavor we are genuine soldiers, fighting for our highest ideal, which we are able to achieve. Bravery must also express itself in our entire life. Just as soldiers, we must courageously battle the enemy everywhere destiny puts us, even if we lose our temporary or present limited life. Because of that, we should never run cowardly away from the battle. For example, if someone offends us, calls us names or a liar, insults us and accuses and blames us for things which we are not guilty of and did not do, we listen calmly and ask for all the details that he accuses us of and with which he offended or insulted us. If he too notice the elements are listed in the order as used by the Orientals, ed. 14, is willing to listen to us, then we explain everything to him calmly and part in friendship. Dealing in this manner with matters that are crowned by good results is the result of our bravery, because we completely conquered whatever insulted or offended us and at the same time conquered and defeated the malicious offending behavior of that particular person. When someone is afflicted with a serious ailment that frequently causes him severe pain, he should not give anyone even a hint about his condition. Instead, he should endure it bravely and patiently and even smile like the healthiest and happiest person alive, for such a person is a true hero. But we know from experience that almost every person, even when he is feeling only somewhat poorly or a little sickly, gives himself relief by complaining about the ailment that torments him. He complains to everyone about his pains and as a rule even exaggerates. And under these circumstances, if he had the ability, he would not hesitate to transfer his ailment to another person, no matter what. Of course, when it comes to the aforementioned examples, there exists a great difference in the behavior of people who are afflicted with ailments. Bravery belongs to a good character. Without this positive attribute, we would not be able to fight for everything that we wish for, what we are longing for. Instead, we would always and everywhere be behind everyone else. In all our dealings and activities, bravery is an absolute necessity for us, especially if we want to reach a particular goal, which can only be reached by overcoming the greatest, most difficult obstacles. That is why we never give up the battle. We take aim and bravely continue to fight and persevere until we are once and for all victorious. For such a victory, once we have achieved it by conquering difficult obstacles, which initially 15 seemed insurmountable, pleases us much, but mainly satisfies and strengthens us for any further battles. We strengthen genuine bravery through modesty and by not accepting any kind of praise or ovations for any kind of brave behavior, because we never display or exhibit our bravery. We are conscious of the fact that everything we do for our fellowmen is unselfish. We keep our bravery secret and do not brag in front of other people. For self-control, when it comes to the behavior of our fellowmen, we realize the importance of self-control, control of all our attributes, especially the negative ones. When we notice bad or negative attributes in others, which they display in the presence of a large group or a social gathering, we must become more conscious of our behavior and our own attributes, which mostly disturb for our own harmony of the elements. As a rule, we see all the bad attributes, bad habits and deeds when it comes to our fellowmen, nothing escapes us. We meticulously observe everything and make a mental note of it, but in this important respect we completely forget ourselves. And that is a great mistake, that we do not see ourselves in our great delusion. We only criticize, slander and judge other people. And since we know that now, let us make the big change. We should diligently devote ourselves more to self-observation, introspection, and self-control. That means that we must observe and control all our attributes, especially the negative ones. We have been endowed by nature with an almighty will, and with such might and power we are able to overcome any derailed negative attribute, namely, passions and 16 bad habits, and finally also control them. Some of our passions and bad habits, negative attributes, are so deeply rooted that we must make the greatest effort and develop all our powers, which express themselves in our will, to overcome under any circumstances our negative attributes. Our daily conscientious introspection is the prerequisite to control all our attributes, to which we devote ourselves until we achieve an absolute equilibrium of the elements within us. In this battle for self-control and the control of all our attributes, we are only concerned with ourselves and not with anyone else. In this case, other people are excellent helpers and mediators through which we can prove clearly and practically the extent to which we can control ourselves. We will never slander, judge or criticize the mistakes or shortcomings of others. Their attributes are to us untouchable, even when they use them in any way against us. We never quarrel with them, never cause them any harm, and when necessary we defend ourselves in a decent, proper and effective manner. In situations like that we behave always in calm and sensible manner, because that is true self-control and control of our own attributes. Once we have achieved self-control, in that we are in control of all our positive and negative attributes, we can test our control of them for longer periods of time on different occasions to discover if some of these attributes, passions and bad habits have disappeared by being silent for a while. We need to make sure that we have really mastered our vices so they cannot cunningly attack us from behind and rob us again of our precious vitality and equilibrium. Only after such a test, when none of these former passions, habits and attributes show themselves any longer, can we say with certainty that we have achieved absolute equilibrium, self-control and have taken control of all our 17 positive and negative attributes. Then we are completely different from all the normal, uninitiated people. But we cannot let anyone else know that, because that is part of self-control and it is one particular aspect of true silence or taciturnity. Control is power, quantity, which depends on one's level of maturity. The more perfect and pure a person is, the stronger and more effective is this power. 5. Impetus, fiery vigor and enthusiasm. When it comes to the magical exercises and work, we urgently require impetus, fiery vigor and enthusiasm so that we can reach our goal easier, as well as the fulfillment of our tasks and work, and to attain results and successes. Our exercises and work receive through these attributes a higher quality and a particular reflection of our powers and skills in our development. It is difficult to imagine the successful development of a magician without these attributes. A magician cannot always operate with the same power and exercise without any enthusiasm or impetus, in other words, mechanically, or always in the same manner, even though the obstacles become increasingly more difficult on a daily basis. On the contrary, impetus, fiery vigor and enthusiasm give us the possibility to easier overcome the obstacles, which are in our way on the path to our goal. When we start on the Hermetic path we are filled with impetus, fiery vigor and enthusiasm, but later on when difficult obstacles of various kinds come up, and if the affected person is not in possession of perseverance and a strong will, then his enthusiasm and fiery vigor will soon become weaker and his desire to continue with his exercises will soon fade completely. In such a case, it is always necessary to sensibly ponder why we are not at the 18 height of our enthusiasm when it comes to the exercises. Therefore, we must do our utmost to remove at the right time the causes that prevent us from continuing with the exercises. We must preserve our original fiery vigor at all costs. And that is why we attack the exercises with which we have problems and for which we have lost our interest, enthusiasm and impetus with honest modesty, with a firm will and with great perseverance. We begin in a modest manner, slowly, but surely, with one exercise after another. When we invade this field of endeavor in this manner and give ourselves the fewest possible tasks, we are then able to cope with them in the best possible manner. Only when we have attained the right kind of mood and have placed ourselves into the proper situation, can we take on gradually more or greater tasks with confidence. In all probability, at the beginning, we made the mistake that we immediately imposed too many tasks on us with too much fiery vigor and too much enthusiasm that we were not able to cope with them. We used up too much of our power, so that we were finally faced with failures. It is always better to begin in a modest and humble manner and to spare or save our powers, so that we always have a particular reserve or supply of our vitality for goals and exercises that are still ahead of us, and which we must complete under any circumstances. That is why we never go too far with fiery vigor and enthusiasm, but only use these attributes modestly and safely, so that we always have a sufficient supply and never lose them forever, because every failure is a setback for our fiery vigor and enthusiasm. Therefore, be cautious. Failures are merely an invitation to exercise and work more diligently on your introspection, and even in this case you could find particular connections with your failures. Our vigor and enthusiasm should never be affected by failures. Failures and disappointments are for us a constant 19 driving force that never dwindles, for its source is the great and sincere longing and love for our highest goal, which we want to reach under any circumstances. The power of fiery vigor, impetus and enthusiasm grows in the same proportions to obstacles, love and yearning to reach the highest goals. 6. Enthusiasm for the magical sciences and arts. Whoever in general knows the sciences and arts, and whoever also finally gets to know the science of magic, will clearly recognize through his open-minded, unbiased and impersonal intellect that the science of magic is the highest of all the sciences in the world, since it is based on the disciplines of universal truth. Our general enthusiasm for the sciences and arts urges us to devote ourselves to some field of endeavor in the sciences and arts to which we have the closest connection in respect to our interests and whatever we are particularly fond of, especially what is in accordance with our aptitudes and talents. Perhaps we also dedicate ourselves to some kind of art, such as music, or whatever is of greater interest to us and for which we also have a gift or talent. Genuine art will always yield for us the greatest gains for our astral and spiritual development. In such a case our astral and spiritual abilities and attributes of a higher degree come into play, which originate from inspiration and intuition, through which we partly reach the field of the magical arts and sciences. Then the doors are open to us. It is necessary that we hold on, then we will easily slide onto the right path into eternity. Once we are mature enough for this path, then this art, this skill, gets us there with certainty, and we will find the opportunity ourselves and a source to which we can come and where we can obtain the 20. Right advice and information about the science and art of magic. From experience we know that not everyone is mature enough for magic. But if a person has inspiration and intuition for the earthly arts, then it is almost certain that he will be able to travel on the path of magic. Proof of that are the geniuses of the various arts, such as poets, painters, composers, sculptors and ingenious inventors. 3. They never boast about their achievements. When they eventually gain genuine magical abilities, which they attain through intuition and inspiration, which they will never sacrifice or reveal to anyone. Such an artist or genius has a great advantage because of his enthusiasm for the arts that are of magical origin, since they are imparted to him intuitively and through inspiration. Already his genius, his brilliance, tells us that his spirit is on high level of spiritual development. Therefore, perhaps he belongs to a circle of high initiates. He will never reveal this to anyone, and that is how his inner astral and spiritual development remains hidden from the outside world. Only the results of their magical artistic activities, which these geniuses, these true artists, leave behind here, are a testimony of their magical genius, which only initiates correctly understand and value. In any case, every genius as a rule is an advanced student or master of the magical arts and sciences, and he enters the material plane with a particular mission, to enrich the world with the results of his ingenious arts and sciences and to bring human civilization to its highest heights. But the more or less significant scientists and artists do not occupy these positions, and though they have a particular considerable talent, they are not geniuses. 3. As an example, Galileo, Da Vinci. Ed. 21. Finally, we are obliged and bound by genuine enthusiasm for the sciences and arts to become masters of the highest sciences and magic, provided, however, that we possess this level of maturity. Our entire material, astral and spiritual development must strive toward that goal. Our ceaseless, unswerving, profound, sincere interest for the sciences and arts, especially for the highest sciences, namely magic, awakens and strengthens in us our power of enthusiasm. 7. Courage. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, especially when we use our courage for a good purpose. Courage is one of the mightiest and most effective positive attributes with which we can fight to attain whatever we wish for. Our courage, however, must be under the control of our will, which will guide our courage and give the right meaning to our actions. Therefore, we will not risk or venture anything for which we do not possess the abilities. That is why we guide our courage in such a way that we systematically carry out one task after another and cope with whatever is within our powers and abilities and for which we have the right amount of courage. When we aim for a high goal that is ahead of us and we are not able to carry it out all at once, then we approach our goal step by step until we have removed the last obstacle with our courage until we stand right before our goal. The more difficult and greater the obstacles, the more our courage will increase and become compliant. Yes, courage will directly become a part of our character and our will. And 22. Might, with which we manage, control and guide everything. Courage is an important factor in our entire life. Without it we cannot create or accomplish anything. Fortune favors the courageous. For above all, courage is connected to the active will and the consciousness. They complete the will and guide him onto the right path. Whatever we wish to possess, we must dare to realize and fight boldly for our wishes, interests and everything else. Temporary failures will not lead us astray, because we know how difficult it is to attain or gain some things, as well as attributes, abilities, arts or sciences. Our courage increases in the same proportions as the difficulties of our obstacles increase. The more difficult they are to overcome, the more courageous we become. As we know, courage is one of the main pillars of the Temple of Solomon, which we furnish for the duration of our present temporary life here. We have here on earth the best opportunities to do that, because in the invisible world these powerful, precious obstacles, which are particularly chosen for us, are no longer available to us. However, we continue to live there with whatever we take with us from here into eternity. If we develop a powerful courage, we can make use of it in the invisible world with great success, of course, in accordance with the conditions that prevail in the beyond on the astral and spiritual planes. We make use of our courage wherever we have to overcome our most unusual and eccentric negative and positive attributes and passions and bad habits, which have become so deep-rooted in us that it has become difficult to control or remove them. Operations like that are exactly the same as those that are carried out on our physical bodies, when a surgeon with a knife liberates us from an abscess, tumor or fall. This statement does not necessarily imply material fortune. Ed 23. A limb that cannot be saved. Therefore, if our passions, circumstances, negative attributes, bad habits are too strong, which we cultivated over several generations and which always accompany us and develop more and become stronger, then we must develop a stronger and greater courage, so that we can conquer these negative characteristics and cut them out of our spiritual, astral and physical bodies. These passions and negative attributes are so deeply rooted within, because we created and developed them ourselves through our past unhealthy way of life. They nourished themselves from our vital energy, and because of that they became a direct part of our personality. If we make the attempt to remove them or cut them out, they will defend themselves with everything in their power, for they possess a strong instinct of self-preservation, because in the true sense of word through this kind of operation we actually kill them. That is why we require for this task a considerable amount of patience, strength, but above all courage, and stop at nothing, not even death. A courageous person has no reason to fear anything, because he finds support in his consciousness from the highest goal. Courage as an attribute, filled with the power of the active rays of the element of fire, which enables us to carry out whatever we wish, provided it serves a noble purpose. 8. Effective defense. We defend ourselves and resist everything that is harmful to us. The more something harmful oppresses us, the more effectively and powerfully we resist and defend ourselves against it. For example, there are various ailments, of a lesser and more serious kind, against which our astral and physical bodies naturally defend themselves strongly. We must help our 24. Physical body through medical help or through other appropriate healthy measures that make us well. An initiate, who is in control of his astral and physical bodies, helps himself best with special magical means, except when the ailment is a consequence of karmic causes. We know that the cause of every ailment is either rooted in the imbalance of the elements, or through the intervention of the divine providence as a test. And that is why we should make every effort to attain an equilibrium, or balance, of the elements which, at the same time, guarantees us our health. Health is the basis, the foundation, for all our work and activities, without which it will be awfully difficult to reach our goal. Since we know that now, we build first of all the most effective defense against the activities of all negative attributes, and through that we render them harmless, we destroy them. The best solution, of course, would be to change all negative attributes into the various opposite positive attributes. And that is the reason why we should never forget our daily introspection, which is the most effective means, the most effective weapon, against everything that harms us spiritually, astrally and physically. Actually, it is the most heroic battle for anyone who is an initiate, to develop and build a good and flawless character. In doing so, we overcome, at the same time, the most difficult obstacles that are in the way of our self-knowledge. 5. We employ for that particular task our will, our endurance or stamina and our perseverance. We never let our main goal out of our sight, which we endeavor to reach no matter what it takes. This material plane, the physical world, which we have become so accustomed to during the entire time of our reincarnation, captivates us incessantly, and continuously more powerfully. 5. Self-knowledge, or introspection, is the understanding and the knowledge of one's own attributes, one's own narrow limitations, abilities and insight into oneself. Ed. 25. And effectively, the closer we are to our goal. That is why liberating or unfettering ourselves from the material plane, the independency of our present physical or material life, is our most difficult obstacle, which we must overcome at the same time. We can erect an effective defense against this dependency to the material plane, by employing the strong belief, I own nothing in this material world, not even my own life, not my physical or astral bodies, which I only use as shells, so that I can express myself and manifest for the duration of my temporary life here on earth. All that belongs to nature, and it is only on loan to me. Therefore, when fulfill my task, my M1SS10N, the reason why I through destiny reincarnated here on this material plane, I shall remove my physical garment, my physical body, and enter the invisible world. I shall not take even one single hair from my head with me, and everything that I experienced here on earth shall forever disappear from my memory. Only what I developed here through spiritual, astral and eternal introspection, the Temple of Solomon, shall I take with me into eternity. It is easy to realize that when we bid farewell to this material world we bump all the bridges behind us, so that we can continue on our path to eternity. However, if we are not mature enough yet for eternity, then we must return to the physical world in new shells, with new energy, and mainly with the experiences from past incarnations, but without any particular memory from our consciousness of what we experienced in our past lives, in order to continue with the perfection, the completion, of our work or task. The continuation of our battle begins, and we find the most effective base in our defense in intuition and inspiration, which we prepared already in our past incarnation. Our destiny leads us on a safe path to our goal that has been set. Defense is a power, a quantity. 26. If we are ill, we make every effort to become healthy again. There are, of course, many kinds of ailments. Since time immemorial the healing methods have been constantly improved and perfected through research to find the cause of ailments through scientific knowledge of the entire organism of the human body to the finest detail, through the results of dissection, chemical analysis of bacteria, blood etc., and also through observation of laboratory animals of the various ailments. Many dangerous and sickness ailments were conquered, so that the mortality rate of the population decreased. Despite all this, there are still many deadly diseases in existence that cannot be eliminated or healed, for example, cancer. 6. Despite that, karmic law reacts to these successful interventions with new ailments. Therefore, we human beings do not escape the natural equilibrium of causes that come into being on their own. We are dealing here at the same time with both karmic and developmental processes. These ailments come into being in the human body through the disturbance of the function of the elements. The disturbance of the function of the elements comes into being primarily through severely derailed negative attributes, passions and bad habits, which are nourished through repetition and through physical causes, as for example, colds, accidents, bums, etc. Every ailment is, of course, also an imbalance of the elements of the karmic burden from an earlier life. 6. We need to remember these are notes from the 1950s. The translators believe that this is the personal opinion, or a misinterpretation of Bardeen's meaning, of Bardeen's student at that time. In those